and welcome to the first episode of Bookies Talk on the Cook Memorial Public Library podcast. I'm Erica O'Rourke, one of the readers' advisors here at the library, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Karen Varga. We're thrilled you're joining us to find out what books we've been reading and loving lately. If you're looking for previous episodes of Bookies TV, don't worry, they're still on our YouTube channel, which we'll link to in the show notes. The first title I wanted to talk about today has been a smash hit among our staff. It's The Bandit Queens by Parini Shroff. This is the story of Geeta, a woman in a small Indian village whose husband walked out on her 5 years ago. He was an abusive drunk, so she's not exactly sad he's gone, but the rest of the village thinks she murdered him, which has earned her a reputation as a witch and an outcast, and Geeta is completely okay with this. She's worked hard to rebuild her life, start a business. She's even hoping to buy a fridge. So she's never bothered to clean up her reputation. Until the other women in her microloan group start asking if Geeta can help them get rid of their husbands, too. Her plans unravel from there as she's drawn into increasingly harebrained and increasingly dangerous schemes that will impact everyone in her village. There's an element of mystery in the story, and it is very, very darkly funny. But what really makes it stand out is the focus on how Geeta reclaims her life and rebuilds, and also the complexity of all the female friendships portrayed in this book. If you liked Killers of a Certain Age, this is a great follow-up with an unusual setting. Karen, what have you been reading lately?
Oh, I've been reading a lot of suspense and thrillers. My first one that I want to talk about is The Break by Katie Size. It's an intricately plotted, suspenseful mystery that contains a deeply hidden secret that totally surprised me. The novel starts out with Rowan, an unreliable narrator. She is suffering from PTSD and undergoing therapy after the traumatic birth of her daughter. Her newborn, Lila, is alive and fine, but Rowan is deathly afraid that something will happen to her. At one point, she tells her therapist about a psychotic break where she accused the nanny of taking her baby. Then suddenly, she realized that Lila was right there in her crib the whole time. Part 2 of the novel changes to a parallel narrative, flipping between June, the nanny, 5 months earlier, and Rowan in the present, trying to understand what is happening, because June is missing now, and everybody around her is acting oddly. She knows that she is missing something, but her memory isn't very reliable. Investigators are asking questions, and she was one of the last people to see June alive. Both women are interesting narrators. Rowan is an author of best-selling murder mysteries. June is an inspiring actress who craves the spotlight. Other characters that add dimension to the novel also serve as red herrings. The husband, his mother, June's roommate, a boyfriend, co-workers. The only one I didn't suspect at one point or another was Rowan's mother, because she was in a nursing home. I would recommend this book to readers who liked Mary Kubica's Every Last Lie or Elizabeth Day's Magpie.
You read a lot of thrillers, right?
I do.
Okay. How good are you at picking out the twist before it's actually revealed?
Unfortunately, that happens a little too often.
And you don't like it when that happens?
And I don't like it. And that's why I have to read so many books before I find one that I can talk about.
You're very discerning.
Well, thank you.
All right. So my next title is actually a bit of a hidden gem. It came out last year. I just don't feel like it got the attention it deserved. It's Claire Keegan's Foster. The book has actually been out in her native Ireland for more than 10 years, but it was just released here in its unabridged form late last year. It is a tiny little book. It's really more of a novella than a novel, but every single word is chosen with such care and such precision. It's just impeccably crafted. It's set in rural Ireland. It's about a little girl who's sent to stay with her relatives for we don't know how long, and neither does she. It's, things are hard at home. Her mom is pregnant again. There's not enough food or time or money for anybody. Dad is just kind of a ne'er-do-well, and so she's sent to spend the summer with her aunt and uncle. And you watch this child just sort of gradually settle into the rhythm of their days and settle into herself. And we see the whole world, the good and the bad and the tragic, all through her eyes. It is told from a child's perspective, but it never feels twee or overly precocious. It just feels incredibly authentic. It's a book where you finish and you sit there for a minute just in awe of the author's talent. It's moving and evocative and thoughtful. It is both heartbreaking and hopeful simultaneously. You can read this book in a weekend, but it will stay with you much longer than that. It's perfect for fans of Marilynne Robinson or Elizabeth Strout or anybody who likes really closely observed, beautifully written fiction. Okay, Karen, what's your next title? I know it's a thriller.
Oh, of course it is. This book I listened to, What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. I turned it on while preparing meals, dusting, any opportunity I had. It was something I just didn't want to stop listening to. It's a fast-paced mystery with more than one surprise twist, imagine that, that had me suspecting just about everyone. Naomi used to play magical goddess games with her best friends, Cassidy and Olivia, in the woods, until one day a horrible attack left her disfigured, and all of them traumatized. 20 years later, the man convicted of the attack dies from cancer in prison. This triggers a phone call from Olivia to Naomi with a dire request for her to return to her hometown where the incident happened. The convict's death has also brought a reporter to town, looking for information on the killer and the victims to do a true crime podcast. The reader soon finds out about a secret the girls kept from the police since the time of the attack. Olivia wants to reveal this secret. Naomi, trying to make sense of things, visits the woods where the crime took place. The next day, she finds a dead body floating in a lake nearby. The police don't know if it was a suicide or murder, and Naomi is a suspect. I truly liked the main character, Naomi Shaw. She was described as prickly. I saw her as incredibly strong and capable. She grew up with a drunkard father who hoards things. She has PTSD from the attack. She has problems maintaining romantic relationships, but I respect her for everything that she overcame. This book is flying off the shelves. Goodreads gives it a 4.08 out of 5 after 22,000 ratings. That's high praise. I would recommend What Lies in the Woods to readers who liked The Last to Vanish by Megan Miranda or A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham.
Very cool. I would think that any book where a podcast plays a central role to the story is probably going to be good as an audiobook. Like, they've really got to nail the audiobook narration there. All right, well, thanks again for joining us today. We'll be sure to put links to all of the titles we've talked about in the show notes. And if you're on the lookout for more great reads, check out our Spring Book Buzz. It's the Bookies rundown of this spring's most anticipated books. That's also on our YouTube page. You can always find us on the library's website, Shelf Life, the library blog, or by emailing us. And as always, you can support the podcast by sharing it with your friends and subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back soon, but until then, keep reading, keep watching, and keep listening.